Let me call to order the January 8, 2025 Pottstown Council Committee of the Whole meeting. Would you rise for a moment of silence, followed by the pledge to the flag? Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, let's start with the presentation, the Business Improvement District.
Good evening, counselors.
Evening.
So I'm here with you virtually this evening. I'm sorry my camera isn't working for some reason, but the most important thing probably is the slides before you. So hopefully you can see them. As you are aware, PAID started a discussion actually 3 years ago before it received ARPA dollars about how we could make further investment into the downtown areas and some of the other areas in the borough in doing some enhancements, placemaking enhancements, etc., which is out of the scope of really PAID's work. So the bid would be a dedicated resource for this type of work. We did go back and we heard the feedback that we received, and we thoughtfully looked at what would make the most sense and would get the most investment, and that perhaps it was just too large an area for people to understand. So you will see on this side-by-side slide that the original proposed bid did include both the Western Gateway of High Street and then also Circle of Progress, which now have been removed. Next slide, please. Can we get to the next slide?
Yeah, it's showing on our end.
Okay, all right, sorry. So the next slide is just a blown up version, a version that hopefully you can see clearer, that shows parts of King Street as well as Hanover Street, and then looking from Manatawny to Charlotte with High, then continuing down through the 400 block and the 500 block of High Street. And I just want to pause for a minute here. The individuals that came to the meeting, and I had subsequent discussions after the public meeting about why couldn't the entire borough receive this assessment. There really is no legal vehicle to do that. And the idea is to give updated and more intensive services to an area of a business improvement district. Next slide, please. So the next slide is showing you about what the assessments will look like now, which are prior to the new boundaries. There were 363 parcels that were included in the original proposal that would lead to an assessment of $169,392. The assessments now would be on 297 parcels. To remind everyone, non-tax producing parcels will not be included in this. This means churches, educational institutions, any borough property. They are not included in it. There are residential properties that are included in it if they are income producing. So not people that are living in homes that they own. These are assessments that go against something that is producing an income to someone. The 297 parcels, the majority of those properties are assessed at less than $99,000. Next, or they have, I'm sorry, they have an assessed value of less than $99,000. The next slide, please. The next slide deals with the governor, what has transpired since then. As we were going through this process, Governor Shapiro did commit dollars in the amount of $20 million statewide to a Main Street Matters program that is going to be administered or is being administered through the Department of Community and Economic Development. As part of that program, there are requirements, and PAID did go ahead and join the downtown PA Downtown organization, as well as the Downtown National Organization. It is a requirement to access these dollars. It is one of the requirements that you are designated as a main street and a downtown. You have a downtown manager that will go through educational opportunities. If you can move to the next slide. Actually, 2 slides. I think there's a delay. So if you will look through, if you look at the slide that talks about the process, there's also an opportunity here that would, over 4 years, open us up to $225,000. The assessment is an investment in the future for the citizens, businesses, and property owners in the borough of Pottstown. Without the investment and without a known sustainable program, either the borough would have to commit through resolution that they were willing to support this program into the future when that funding goes away in year 5. But many of the downtowns do have either downtown districts, known as DIDs, or business improvement districts. And the reason is because the state does not want to make this investment themselves as well, and then find out that a town does not have the ability to be able to sustain it going into the future. So the bid would be necessary for us to have access to those dollars in the future. So I don't want to take a lot of time. I think you were really given the opportunity early on last summer to hear about what the purpose of the bid was. We're really here for the opportunity to notify the property owners again and to have a public comment period that they would be able to come and hear more information. We also will continue to educate those property owners that would be affected by a bid between now and that public hearing. So I'm here to answer any questions.
None. No questions.
Okay, thank you. So we're just, as I said, we're looking for the property owners to be notified once again. We are starting the process really from the beginning, and we hope that the borough will proceed with this.
Okay.
So the action, go ahead,
Yeah,
Chuck.
Dan, the motion for council for Monday night would be to authorize staff to move forward and schedule the required public hearing for the March meeting of council. And as Peggy indicated, the public hearing would occur, there'd be a presentation, and the folks would have the ability to provide comment to council at the public hearing, like I think happened last June or May or June. So we would have the hearing again.
Okay, we'll add that for Monday. Next, we'll
Thank you.
hear, okay, We'll hear from the Manatee chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution. Welcome.
Alrighty. Okay, good evening, councilors, council president, Madam Mayor. We have a little presentation from the Daughters of American Revolution, the Manatee chapter. We have a request regarding a historical marker. I'm going to give you a little bit of background. Our chapter regent is Mrs. Audrey Bentley. I'm not sure if Audrey was able to join us virtually today. She was a little bit under the weather. Our America 250 committee is Kathy Wilcox. She's also a little bit under the weather, couldn't join us tonight, and myself. There's some information. There's our website, our Facebook page, our email address, and our postal, our P.O. box. Joining me here at the table is Denise Hughes. She's the secretary for the chapter, and she's also a committee member of the America 250 committee. Okay, next slide. All righty. The Manatee chapter of the National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution was founded in Pottstown in 1939. We are a nonprofit, 501c3, non-political, volunteer women's service organization dedicated to promoting patriotism, preserving American history, and securing America's future through better education for children. The DAR members are women who come from diverse backgrounds, and they hold a variety of interests and have a proven lineal descent from individuals who helped contribute to securing the independence of the United States during the Revolutionary War from April of 1775 through September of 1783. Our chapter volunteers annually to offer support to veterans at the Southeast Vet Center, Memorial Day services, school essay contests, and supporting elementary schools with information prior to educational trips to historic Philadelphia. In 2026, the United States will mark its 250th anniversary of our Declaration of Independence. The United States Semi-Quincentennial Commission, it's the America 250 Commission, was established in 2016, and it assumes the task of facilitating nationwide plans to observe this historic occasion. DAR is the first heritage society to formally partner with America 250, and Lynn Young is the DAR representative on the America 250 Commission. Ms. Young was the president general of DAR from 2013 to 2016. Okay. All righty. The America 250 Committee of the Manatee chapter of DAR is planting some trees at our neighborhood parks, American Revolutionary theme books for children, American Revolutionary themed programs at the Pottstown Public Library, essay writing contests, America 250 souvenirs for public sale, flags and banners for High Street, creation of an American Revolutionary War Memorial at Veterans Island, and also America 250 Patriot Marker on High Street. The National DAR has launched a number of initiatives to support the commemoration. One includes the America 250 Patriot Markers being placed across the country to honor those who supported the Revolutionary War. The Manatee chapter of the DAR has an America 250 committee that is working on executing the DAR national initiatives and local interests. Alrighty. The Manatee DAR chapter would like to support the National DAR initiative, and we seek permission and guidance to place a marker on High Street at Hanover Street. This marker would honor Major General Arthur St. Clair, who during the Revolutionary War maintained a home at High and Hanover Streets. He took part in General Washington's crossing of the Delaware River on December 25th through 26th of 1776, And St. Clair is also credited with the strategy that led to Washington's capture of Princeton, New Jersey on January 3rd of 1777. Here are two markers that give an idea as what they would look like. There's one there, that's very familiar.
I think everybody recognizes
That one,
from
yeah.
Edgewood.
From Edgewood Cemetery. Yeah. And then the other one is from right out front here, something like that. We're looking at a marker that will, have some educational information. So basically, we are seeking permission and guidance to proceed with the initiative. Actually, we are beginning with an end date in mind. We would like to perhaps unveil the marker on National Constitution Day, which is September 17th, 2025, almost like a kickoff for the 250th celebration towards the end of 2025. And just another little tidbit of information, Pat Weber, she was going to try and come tonight, but she's not here tonight. But we do have a member of our chapter. She's 90 years old, and she's actually a 32-year resident of the borough of Pottstown, and she is a descendant of Major General St. Clair. All of us on the committee, we were researching different people from the area. We all spread the names out. We were all pointing at St. Clair, and then somebody said, I think that's Pat's relative. And a couple of us went, what? And we were like, yep, and we looked into it. So, yeah, she is a descendant of General St. Clair. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have, but at this point in time, we're just kind of looking for guidance and permission to move forward.
Any questions? Chuck, do we need to do anything formally or just nod our heads and say go forward?
I think for the agenda on Monday, there'd be some kind of motion authorizing staff to move forward with this project if it's supported by council.
Okay, we'll add that for Monday evening.
I do have a question, sorry. Those plaques that you showed, is that identical to what you're looking to do?
No, those are just two examples. We just wanted to share with council two examples of plaques, the kind of what we're looking at, to put something like that up there, that'll have a lot of educational information about St. Clair and the home and everything, yeah.
It's like what you see everywhere when you go around Philadelphia or any other place.
Absolutely, exactly.
You see signs exactly like
Yeah,
that.
exactly, yeah.
Bronze-ish type signs.
So I guess I have a question for Chuck now. So the vote on Monday is just to approve staff to go ahead and look into it, not approving the actual plaque or marker?
Correct.
That's correct. We
That would
come
be,
back
that would be, that would be
with our
on us to pay
findings and
for
more
it.
information about it.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
I'm sorry, I said that the vote on Monday would just give staff the go-ahead to go forward to explore what has to be done, and we come back to council with the details of that study. So you would be voting again.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Very good, we'll add that.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
All right, from our subcommittees, Emergency Services, Chief Hand, anything to add?
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to give two updates. First, Manager Keller has our report tonight for the fire department for the year 2024, and it's also in the packet. The first thing I wanted to bring up is the fire department got a grant, and we're almost done it right now, where we're going to have what they call a HAAS system on the roof of the vehicles, HAAS. And that device is designed that when the fire truck or the ambulance stops and goes in park, about a half mile ahead of that, there'll be a notification on your Waze or your Google Maps that there's emergency vehicles in front of you. So that way, like tonight, we had an incident on Washington Street, and everybody was turning on. They wouldn't have turned on if they had that information. So, and the other thing I had that I didn't provide Justin was last year we had 41 structure fires. We had about $35 million of potential damage to the homes. And basically, we only had $3 million worth of damage, and two of them were big ones. One was the Smith Towers where we had the fire, and the other was the firehouse. They were almost $2.5 million of our loss, and our total loss was only like $3 million. So, I just we didn't get that to Justin, but I want to let you know that the fire department definitely played a part in saving property in the borough this year. So that's my report. Thank you.
Would you remind everybody to change their smoke detectors, batteries?
Yeah,
If they're
that-
chirping,
it's-
you
yeah,
got to
it's-
do something?
Especially now that they're not going to be changing the clock supposedly, that's going to be a big issue for us. So, but we do put it out on our Facebook, we do put it out for, as much as we can, but yeah, as a reminder, please change your batteries and let it,
Or your smoke detectors?
Or your
if-
smoke
Mhm.
detector, yes. So
Thank
we
you.
don't have too many more clothes now, but that's, we do put that out, Lisa, though. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Chief.
Infrastructure, Counselor Lebedinsky.
It's in your packet.
Okay. Transportation, Counselor Proskal.
We did a meeting, the notes from the packet, we basically just kind of went over our projects, and
Right.
that's about it.
And the ordinance review? Nothing. Economic development, Ms. Lee Clark.
Well, good evening again. So I wanted to let everybody know that this is a big year for PAID. PAID turns 60 this year. I think a lot of people do not realize that PAID has been around as long as it has. It did start out as Pottstown Area Industrial Development. Some of you may remember that we rebranded a few years ago to include the word economic development rather than just industrial development, because it is so much more. When PAID was reorganized back in 2010 by the borough, the school district, and the county RDA, it was known that really PAID's purpose and the desire for PAID to be reorganized was to increase the tax base. And that's really PAID's core mission when you strip all the pretty language away. And through that, increasing the tax base is through development, companies coming into town, and job creation. And so those projects that make a difference are so important, and it has to be a diverse set of projects. If you all have been following the commercial market right now, office space, we're very lucky actually in the borough of Pottstown because office space is really struggling, and the commercial market and the development market is struggling with that market. They're just not sure where that's going to go. But we do have a lot of mixed use. We have a good mix of industrial use. And also, we are getting more and more multi-unit development and responsible developers that are interested in coming into town and building um, residences that are going to encourage people with disposable income, which is so necessary for any retail in the downtown. So I know that you have a presentation on later this evening. Paid is supportive of this project because once again, it will bring people, it's such an important part of the ecosystem, and they have been great developers to work with. They're very communicative, and we have been extremely happy with what has been going on. I know none of these projects go as quickly as everybody would like them to go. I know Mr. Lingo also has some projects in the downtown going on, but we're very happy to see that there is interest because we do need these types of units to be built that are attractive to a younger generation. So I just wanted to say that. Also, in creating conditions that are going to have responsible developers coming into town, we continue to work on finding a champion of the Joe Cerisi bill, who was great with us getting that bill, House Bill 1573, through the legislature. We are looking for a Senate champion for a Senate companion bill then to pass through the Senate and then go on to the governor. To remind you what that bill entails, it really is looking to create a pot of money through DCED for older boroughs and towns like Pottstown that has lovely, beautiful old architecture that unfortunately is very expensive to bring up to today's code requirements. So to take some of those, to help in some of that development and encourage some of that development, we still continue to work on that. The other thing that we're very interested in, of course, is 451 Keystone and 405 Keystone Boulevard is Restream. It is an innovative green technology company that will produce very good jobs for the borough. And with the multi-units that are being built and developed, people will have places to live. I want to remind everybody that this is a tough time for small businesses. It is January. They hit the wall. They may have gift certificates that they gave and people, but they need cash. They need an inflow of business. So please do not forget the small businesses in town. Whenever you can go, have a sandwich, grab a birthday gift, anything you can do to spend your dollars in town is greatly appreciated. And so that is my report. I don't have anything else to add. I'm open to questions if you would like, but otherwise, thank you so much. And we are looking forward to a great 60th year at Pottstown Area Economic Development.
Thank you. How about Land Bank?
There was no meeting in December, as that is the week between Christmas and New Year's that it would fall. So the next meeting will be happening the last Monday of the month in January.
Very good. Human Relations, Ms. Levengood.
Good evening, Council President, and Madam Mayor. January is National Human Trafficking Prevention Month, and this is dedicated to raise awareness about human trafficking and to educate the public how to identify and prevent this crime. Martin Luther King Jr. Day is January the 20th. It's a day to celebrate the life and achievements of the influential and American civil rights leader, Dr. Martin Luther King. The 18th annual Community Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. All Faith Celebration will be held on Sunday, January the 19th at 4 p.m. at the Hill School Center for the Arts, 766 Beach Street. The guest speaker will be Dr. Matthew Washington, who's the author of the Jim Crow North, the Struggle for Civil Rights in Pottstown, PA. The Commission's next meeting will be held on Tuesday, January the 14th at 6 p.m. in Council Chambers, and all are welcome to attend. Okay, thank you.
Good. And from the library, Ms. Brown? Is she online? No. Okay. Cricket Center, Counselor Kirkland, anything to add?
Yeah, I have a few items to go over. The Ricketts wanted to give a shout out to Grumpy's Landscaping. They really helped out with the Christmas decorations. A lot of donations there. The whole school who did a wish list for the kids. The kids did a wish list and they provided them with gifts. I thought that was very nice. There was a successful blood drive on the 27th. It was very successful. Heart of God had a youth monitoring mentoring program. Of course, they have the normal karate, the shower, laundry. Friday mornings they have a food bag give out from 9 to noon, and that's from the clusters. They have the homework program, the ballet and tap dance program. The NAACP have their meetings every fourth Thursday of the month. Miss Marie has a Pottstown art every second Wednesday of the month. Of course, the continuing health and wellness program with Paul um, in the weight room. He also has a program he does for seniors um, on Thursdays from 12 to 1. I believe that's in the gymnasium and the weight room upstairs. Um, uh, a young woman named Angela Farson and a guy named Jamal Pratt. They have a rugby program. They just started there. Um, they teach the fundamentals of rugby. I was talking to her, and she talked about how the sport really helped her develop and become a person who trusts other people and develop relationships and just taught her to be more outgoing. And she thought that would be great for the kids to develop that kind of camaraderie with other people. So they do that on Thursdays from 7 to 8, and that would be my report for the month.
Thank you. And from the Pottstown School District, Counselor Lindsay.
So I'm gonna be quick because we got a lot going on today.
Okay.
Okay, so I just want to say to anybody who wants to know what's going on at the school district, they have a website, so Pottstown Schools with an S.org, and they have a lot of information on there. So parents, whoever, even people who don't have kids at the school, and you just want to know what's going on at the school. You just go online and you can click on the high school, Barth, Franklin, Lincoln, Rupert, North End, and they got some really cool pictures of the students. So I thought that was nice that they put the students on there. Like right now, it has the Trojan girls wrestling team on there, and how they went to Ocean City, Maryland. So and you can read more about it. They also have going on Elks Hoop Shoot free throw contest, kids 8 to 13. And that's January 12th at Pottstown Middle School. So, and doors open at 12:15 p.m. and contest begins at 1 p.m. Any questions? Call 484-363-7150. That's it for me.
Good. And from our solicitor, Mr. Garner, you have a discussion for us?
Sure. Thank you, and good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. Looking at the agenda tonight, I thought it might be helpful to just briefly discuss an overview between the differences and similarities involving zoning appeals and conditional use appeals. There are a few zoning applications that will be presented tonight, and we have an update on the conditional use from last month. Council, I believe, is generally aware that conditional uses and zoning appeals start with an application. Application is filed, a hearing is set. In both cases, the hearing process is semi-formal. There's a court reporter for both. An applicant presents evidence and documents in support of their request, and ultimately a decision's made on the request for relief. The prime difference between conditional uses and zoning appeals is who hears the case. Council, as the governing body per state law, oversees and serves as the judge in conditional use cases. The zoning hearing board serves as the judge and renders the decision with respect to zoning appeals. Those are variances and special exceptions and potentially interpretations or other types of appeals related specifically to the borough zoning ordinance. Sometimes I think we get a little bogged down as to what is a conditional use and why do we have that. And the borough zoning ordinance is what dictates or mandates what the process is. If you look at any of the zoning districts in the borough zoning ordinance, you'll see a list of uses that are permitted by right, which means no zoning relief is required. The ordinance may also have uses that are permitted by special exception or uses that are permitted by conditional use. And if those types of uses would be ones that a conditional use application would be filed and Borough Council would hear evidence and make its decision on granting the request. The other, in my view, significant difference between conditional uses and zoning appeals is that the Borough Council's role is really just to determine whether the use is permitted, whether the salon or the daycare or the restaurant is permitted in the district. The zoning hearing board's role is much broader. The zoning hearing board has much more power to grant variances to the ordinance. Borough Council really doesn't have that authority. Council's role in the conditional use is basically allowing the use or not. And as you'll see from tonight's applications, we have requests for zoning appeals where the applicants are looking for what appears to me to be dimensional variances, and they will present their case to the zoning hearing board. Council knows that they're not the ultimate decider of these things, but council certainly has a right to become a participant, weigh in if it chooses. I believe in most cases, council just stays out of it. But if there is an application that's of particular interest, council can certainly take a position and let the zoning hearing board know council's feelings. I don't want to go too much into the weeds on this, but again, I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has concerning these two processes and how they're kind of parallel, but there are certain distinctions between the two, and council's role is clearly different in both of these situations. So that's all I have planned unless there's questions.
Any questions?
No, I appreciate the reminders.
Good timing.
Right.
Okay, thank you, Chuck.
You're welcome.
And for the mayor's report, Mayor Henrik.
Yes, good evening. Happy New Year, everyone. So instead of taking a time in my report to summarize all the fun stuff from 2024, can you hear me? Okay. Oh, leaning intently. I posted a little video on YouTube of just some snippets. I had technical difficulties. Zach, you're going to be on that project for next year for me. So I won't take up our time with that, but just briefly, since last time, we had a ribbon cutting at Memorial Bridge. You can now bike across the river again, which I am excited about. I want to thank Menasha and Greater for hosting a fabulous holiday open house. Also, Brookside Country Club hosted our Rotary's holiday gathering. The Christmas decor was beautiful. If you haven't been over there, please go check it out. The longest night of the year service was at Christ's Episcopal Church, and I was honored to speak to the congregation about my personal experience as a homeless teen. I want to thank Parks and Rec, first responders, Councilwoman Lindsay and Vanny, and all the volunteers for the polar bear plunge. And specifically, Mr. Lenhart over there, who I did not know had a voice as he did. If you didn't hear him sing the national anthem, it was amazing. So, of course, we have this kind of talent in the borough. So,
He was good.
fantastic. Sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I was blown away. So, thank you for that. I also attended the grand opening of K&S Fashion Studios at 435 High Street, which is why I am wearing these beautiful jewelry sets. Very cool story about this cute little store. There's a dream of two young teen sisters, borough residents, who want to be fashion designers and create jewelry and clothing. And ladies, fantastic, very good prices. So please check that out. And let's see, I was also nominated to represent our area on the Montgomery County Judicial Screening Committee, which is tasked with recommending candidates from applicants to serve on the Court of Common Pleas. 2 seats are officially open, and we will be extremely busy in the next coming weeks. I was also honored to attend the swearing-in of Joe Cerisi with Trinita at the House of Representatives yesterday. It was really nice seeing both parties working together and exchanging pleasantries. It was a very, very nice ceremony. I would also like to wish Charles Lewis Potts a very happy belated 80th birthday. He celebrated his birthday on December 31st. We have issued a proclamation, which we will be sending to you. And in the interest of time, I'll post a copy of it versus reading it tonight. Here are some upcoming events. January 18th, Drake Bell is performing live at Rivet. Doors open at 6:30. I'm serious. Yes? Yep. Drake Bell, Drake and Josh. 6:30. If you go to their website, you can get VIP meet and greet tickets. So he knows. See? They have a QR code. You can scan it and get your tickets. January 18th. Doors open at 6:30. January 24th is the blood drive at Art Fusion from 10 to 3. The Soup Bowl fundraiser for Art Fusion is January 25th from 11 to 1. They may not have tickets available, but please check it out. And just heads up, save the date. February 25th is the coldest night of the year walk. I'm putting together a team for the borough, so if you would like to join me and raise funds, reach out, and an email will be going out later this month to everyone. 2 announcements. The library is in desperate need of a new roof and is seeking donations. If you are a library member, you may have gotten an email or a call. So if you can, please support the library. And January 27th is International Holocaust Remembrance Day, which commemorates the killing of 6 million Jews and millions of others by the Nazi regime and its collaborators. And as the granddaughter of Polish Catholic Holocaust survivors, I believe it's important for us to promote awareness in Pottstown so that history does not repeat itself. I will be issuing a proclamation to recognize January 27th as International Holocaust Remembrance Day in Pottstown in memory of the victims of the Holocaust and in honor of the survivors, as well as the rescuers and liberators, and hopefully to proclaim that we will strive to overcome intolerance and indifference through learning and remembrance. And thank you. That concludes my report.
Very good. And from our manager, Mr. Keller.
Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. So I did want to go over on the main part of my report tonight, list of accomplishments in 2024. I try to do this every year, and it's quite a list. But before I get to that, we just have one update on a road closure, which is now replacement work that is going to be from January 8th to 10th on Arm & Hammer Boulevard between Cherry Lane and East High Street. This was originally slated to happen early in the month, but because of the cold weather, they had to move back a week. So depending if it warms up or not, it could actually get moved again. But right now it'll be 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Weather permitting. So with that, as I mentioned, we did make a lot of remarkable achievements this year in 2024. And we really, I think, showcased our commitment to improving the infrastructure and enhancing the community services, and also addressing some key concerns raised by citizens in 2024. So I wanted to take a moment just to kind of give a summary of this year's accomplishments and some of the progress that we made. So some borough department statistics that I have for you. Public Works responded to 1,999 work orders across sewer collection, water distribution, and streets. This reflects an 8% increase from the prior year. Licensing and inspections processed 1,020 code enforcement service requests. This also represents a 8% increase from the previous year. Eight.
Oh, I thought you
Yep.
said 8. I'm like,
Yep, 8. And the police department handled 28,511 calls for service in 2024. That was a 2.44% increase over 2023, and that averages out to about 78 calls a day. The fire department recorded 1,655 calls for service in the borough. They also have calls that they go to outside the borough, but this is just inside the borough. That's a 12% increase from 2023. and they're averaging about 4.5 calls per day. On the grant front, we've secured nearly 3.54 million in 2024, but there was a lot more grant applications that were submitted, nearly 10 million in grant funding from various federal, state, and local sources that were submitted. So we're getting about a 35% or higher catchment rate on the grants that we're writing. We also have a number of significant infrastructure projects that were completed this year. And in total, I think I mentioned it earlier in the year, last year, that there were 7 million in infrastructure improvements. That was really showcasing our investment in this town and in the future. And really is kind of a testament to the dedication of everyone involved to carry these projects through. A couple authority projects. One of them was the lead service line replacement project. This year was Phase 2A. They've surveyed over 500 water line locations and replaced more than 200 lines as a part of a $2.8 million project. Also, they provided a $1.7 million project to replace aging water and sewer mains in the borough. 1,000 feet each of water and sewer mains were replaced. The last one of those sections was what I just mentioned at the top of my report in Arm & Hammer Boulevard. There's paving that's going to come in for those, but that'll have to wait until the weather warms up in the spring of 2025, and then that project will be complete. Stormwater improvements, we're nearing completion of an $800,000 project at 1200 High Street for a failing stormwater arch. That was all funded through grants. We've also completed a $400,000 project through grant funding to upgrade stormwater infrastructure in areas affected by sump pump drainage, which causes the premature damage to our roadways. Parks and Recreation, big year for them. They've completed the Riverfront Park pedestrian bridge, as we mentioned, and then also the Memorial Park pedestrian bridge, which is important for key events like the Rumble and the Go Forth to link Veterans Island to the main part of the park. They've also upgraded Chestnut Street Park with new amenities, which was really a much-needed improvement for this neighborhood. They installed additional murals on traffic signal boxes and completed a mural on the Keystone War Memorial at Veterans Island with supports from Pottstown Area Regional Recreation Committee. Public Works installed hundreds of new energy-efficient LED streetlights, as well as a good number of new water meters that will incorporate smart technology, where we can don't have to go out and make the read physically, but the read will come back to us here at the borough. We'll be able to troubleshoot it from the borough in real time if somebody is having a leak or other kind of issue. Paving projects, we completed 2.7 miles of roadway paving at a project valued at $600,000. We repaved parking lot number 2 at High on Charlotte. We partnered with the Hill School to repave and actually totally reconstruct Sheridan Street. We completed a collaborative paving effort on Mervine Street in partnership with Lower Pottsgrove Township. That was between Washington and Adams Street. A couple airport improvements. We completed paving of the maintenance hangar airport apron, as well as we conducted and completed exterior painting of that facility as well. There were a couple programs that we initiated this year. We enhanced our online citizens request system to now include code enforcement items, making it easier for residents to report their concerns and also for us to evaluate our services more effectively. We also created a Identify Your Waterline Material for Safer Community initiative. This initiative allows residents to identify their water line and the material that it's made of so that they can help us to determine if it is lead or not. We also started the Adopt a Street program, in which we have now 2.5 miles of borough roadways that are being cared for by residents, taking care of the trash, leaves, and the debris and that sort of thing. We also finalized a new 4-year contract with the Police Officers Association with the focus of ensuring that we remain more competitive with the departments in our region. We had a couple notable private developments as well. So we achieved full occupancy at 799 State Street with the openings of the grocery outlet Bargain Market and the Ocean State Job Lot, which is a boost to that aging commercial center that was vacant for a long time. We celebrated the grand opening of Doha International, which was a $40 million investment in a new catalytic converter recycling plant at the Pottstown Industrial Complex, which brought not only economic growth, but jobs to the region. And also, we approved Dwight Citigroup's plan to construct 85 new apartment units on the 300 block of North Hanover Street, which does help to address some of the housing shortages that are going on both nationally and locally. And once this is completed, this multi-million-dollar investment will represent the construction of the largest new housing development in the borough in over a decade. So, in closing, this list doesn't include everything, and I just want to apologize in advance for anything that I might have missed. But as you can see, we had a lot going on this year, and I think the achievements really reflect the dedication and hard work of our departments, staff, consultants, and of course, we couldn't do all this without the support and guidance of Borough Council. So together, I think in 2024, we've really built a stronger foundation for a brighter future. And I look forward to continuing this momentum in the coming year. And I'd just like to kind of take a moment and offer everyone around an applause to everyone that's been working every day to make our borough a great place to live, work, and thrive. So thank you.
We did all that?
We did all that and more. A lot that didn't make it on that list.
I'm
Okay.
excited for 25.
Well, moving forward, Mr. Garner, tell us about 30 North Hanover.
Sure, I'll tell you a little bit about it, but I think the applicant's here to tell you more.
Okay.
We received a zoning application. This is the former Mercury building. The proposed project would add another story to the building. The plan is to construct, I believe, 35 apartment units. The applicant is seeking some zoning relief. I believe by adding the additional story, there may be a need for a height variance. And also with the change in use and the additional units, there may be a need for parking relief. And with that, I will turn it over to the applicant. And I don't know if Mr. Murray's here tonight or not, but we have, you can give council a brief overview and answer any questions.
Okay.
Is that the clicker? Good evening, everybody. Mike Murray from O'Donnell, Weiss and Mateo here on behalf of the applicant, the Dwight City Group. We do have representatives of Dwight City Group that has a PowerPoint presentation with regard to this application. But if you're familiar, and the manager's report, 285 Hanover Street, we were in the spring and received zoning relief and conditional use approval for the 85 unit market rate apartment development on Hanover Street. We're currently in the land development process. Last month, right before the Planning Commission meeting, we did receive the review letter, not enough time to address any of those comments. So we gave a informal presentation to the Planning Commission and then anticipate at the next Planning Commission meeting, hopefully to get recommendation and maybe be before you for land development approval at the next council meeting. We did bring a construction management representative, Dwight City Group, who can update you a little further on what they've been through with regard to that project, and then we can roll into 30 North Hanover. And with that, I'll turn it over to Joe.
Hi, my name is Joe Mikowski. I'm a construction manager with Dwight City Group, and I'm the day-to-day on-the-site face for the project at 284 North Hanover. Just to give you a brief synopsis of where we are in the process, I know it's frustrating for everybody not to see shovels in the ground and things being moved along at a more rapid pace, but we're trying to be careful and deliberate to make sure we're adhering to the site conditions as we develop our site plan, so that we're watching out for things like stormwater management and being very careful with how we, to not disturb things that we don't need to disturb, proceed according to all the rules and regulations that we need to abide by. It is a slow and deliberate process, but it's the right way to do it. And for a project of this size, we want to really make sure that everything is done exactly correctly. We're moving forward with some special attention to trying to maintain the original look of the building and adhere to those special features. Again, to try to maintain a consistency so that it doesn't look obnoxious or out of place, but actually is a tribute to the town and the architecture of the original building. Coming forward, we've got a site plan in development now. We have a utility plan in development now. We have moved forward to the MEP, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing plan development process. We anticipate having those by the end of the month, which would mean we'd be in a position to start moving forward with permits and construction, ideally within 3 to 4 months.
Okay.
Anything else?
If they have any questions.
Oh, I'm sorry, would anyone have questions about the project?
No, but I'm glad to hear you talk about doing things the right way. It's more important to take your time and do it the right way than rush and have things break or not work out a couple months down the road.
Absolutely.
So thank you for that.
And a project such as this is a little more difficult because you're dealing with the confines of an existing building. So it's almost a little bit backwards. You're starting with the architect, the layout where the entranceways, the emergency exits, and AJA compliances, and then working backwards to the engineering and moving forward the land development plan. So we submitted the land development plan in the fall and had our preliminary presentation to the Planning Commission in December. And like I said, we hope this Planning Commission meeting to get out with a recommendation.
I believe our next one's next week here.
Yes, I'll be back.
Well, it's nice to see you guys again, obviously. And then it's, look, I'm excited about this project as well. Hey, although I did have kind of a question from my constituents. I'm kind of concerned of mine too. Would you be able to provide, I think there is a elevation drawing in the packet, something that's a little more detail on how the fourth story will look on this, because it's, the Mercury Building's, an iconic building. It kind of gets like, what's it, Greek revival architecture. It's not an office building or anything like that. So
My first foray into Philadelphia construction was acquiring the Icon in Center City, Philadelphia, which was a historical redevelopment done by Altera Group. And I'm glad Joe is here, because earlier today we were complaining that we're redoing a development in, I believe it would be considered like Northern Liberties section of Philadelphia. And it had a beautiful red brick facade that we just could not sustain. So we had to put basically a skim coat over it so we wouldn't have the facade collapse during redevelopment. And today we're now looking at trying to match the red brick facade with the facade veneer as close as possible to bring back that look. That's an extra expense that we don't get more revenue from on the rental side, but for us, having a project that matches the neighborhood and looks good is really important. So.
Yeah. I will note, based on your solicitor's explanation of zoning, we did submit the zoning application at this point. We're under a tight time constraint related to closing on this property by February, correct? Feel that if everyone's on board with the zoning, that they could move forward with that closing, but we will, in the next week or so, be filing the conditional use application that would be before council. Provisions in the ordinance require a project of this size, existing building conversions from non-residential use to residential use require us to come before you in a hearing process as well. So we anticipate that hearing before you happening in February or March, assuming everyone's on board with these zoning relief that's needed to move the project forward. So I think we hope to have more detailed elevations in time for the zoning hearing, but they definitely would be in place in time for the conditional use and this board's decision with regard to the use. And I think maintaining the historical architectural character of the neighborhood is utmost important. I mean, you have the large church next door. Some of the others, the zoning relief we're asking, that like the height variance request, I threw that in as an abundance of caution, and based on the zoning regulations, it's very hard to understand what our height limitation is, because there isn't a set height at 30 feet, 40 feet, 60 feet. It says, look at either building on either side of you, and you can go 15% higher or 50% lower. And it says, or you can look at every building within 250 feet, take that average and go 15% higher or 15% lower. I've been working with Winter on trying to ascertain how do I determine each of those building heights without getting permission from every one of the property owners to go on and measure the heights of their buildings to determine that. We looked at the county records, there's nothing related to that. So right now it's a big guessing game of what the level is. I can tell you the existing Mercury building is about 40 feet in height if you include the parapet and it's flat across, which if you go 15% higher would allow us to go to approximately 46 feet without any variance relief. If you look at the property on Hanover Street, directly across King Street is the Trinity Church, which is significantly taller than 50 feet. I would estimate that it's 60 to 70 feet tall. I talked to Winters like, well, it says you can look at either building on either side of you. Can I look at that and say that I'm lower than it? Her determination was it's across the street. No, we couldn't look at that as the building next door to it. I don't know if I agree with that, but we're in abundance of caution, we're asking for the height variance relief. But there are several buildings, including the Susquehanna building, the building that the Blue Elephant's in, the King Street Commons, the Bell Atlantic building. Every one of those buildings is taller than 50 feet, so it will not be out of character of the neighborhood. It looks like most of the corners in the borough of Pottstown have taller buildings for some reason. Also, it's right next to the downtown district, maybe a building two off of the downtown district. There, you're actually allowed to go up to 60 feet by conditional use in the downtown district. So it is kind of in conformance with that. The second variance was related to parking. The Mercury building does not have any parking associated with it. I know the prior plan was to convert this into a 50-unit hotel with a ground floor distillery restaurant use. I'm not aware that any parking was proposed related to that. Once these guys got the property under agreement, they did work with PAID, discuss what they were proposing. It suggested that they explore options for getting some parking related to this use. After considerable negotiation, they were able to get under agreement an adjacent lot right behind it. There is currently 25 parking spaces in that lot, so we think we can get at least 25 parking spaces. I hedged my bets and said 20 to 25 parking spaces just in case, once it's reviewed by your engineer and they look at turning radiuses and all that kind of stuff, if they cut a few out, I don't want to have to go back to the zoning area. But we anticipate and hope that we can get 25 parking spaces in that as well. And with that, I don't want to cut Judah's thunder. I let him go into his presentation.
So first of all, I want to thank you for bringing that up right away, because part of the reason we're not wearing suits tonight is we spent most of our day in a cold building without any heat, trying to figure out what are the best layouts, egresses, and also spent some time on the roof, looking on the parapets and figuring out what kind of facade we want to do to match the building. And our goal the entire time was aesthetics. You know, we want this to look like it's part of the original build when the building was made. We want the stones to match. We want the facade to be properly integrated. And we were looking at another building which has an overbuild, I won't say the name because we don't want to get anybody into trouble, and they used like this tin veneer that looks terrible. And the first thing Joe and I said is, whatever we do, don't do that. So our goal is to make this look like it was part of the original plan by the developer who put together this building. And that's 100% on par with the way we think and our methodologies of operations. Like Mike brought out, unfortunately, this building doesn't have any sort of adjacent parking lot. PAID was really helpful in helping us identify owners of lots in the area that might be open to offers. We went out of our way and we were able to get the lot right behind it under agreement of sale. And part of our intention, believe it or not, is we're going to be closing and buying that lot even before we come before final zoning council. And the reason we're willing to do that and take that risk is because we believe that at the end of the day, Pottstown is taking a risk on having faith in us to do our job, and we want to show that we are dedicated to our project. So if our project's going to have higher end apartments where folks will have a car or two and they're going to need a place to park, we want to show that we care about that and we want to do the right thing in advance of even presenting before you. So I just wanted to put that out there for everyone's information this evening. I believe most people are very familiar with this project. It's something that has been in talks for a long time. For whatever reason, current owners found that it made more sense to sell to us. We feel very honored and privileged to be given that opportunity. And when we reviewed it, felt that what made sense here was apartments which have to be at least a minimum of 800 square feet. We wanted to make sure there's plenty of air-light ratio and ceiling height for the apartments, so we didn't try to squeeze too many in. But in doing so, for the economics, we felt that we had to get an extra floor in order for the entire opportunity to make sense, because there are fundamental costs of, for example, putting in elevators and other systems that just cannot be supported by building 25 apartments. It just doesn't, the economics aren't there. So if we go down a little bit, I apologize. So this is the zoning relief that we were seeking a little prior, and Michael was kind enough to go through the details and also share with us a little bit about, how we are not 100% sure what kind of relief we need in terms of height. But if we go to, there is an elevation drawing in here. Okay, that's the parking layout. There we go. In the elevation drawing, you can see that the building is quite slanted, but the way we have it designed is there's going to be just a continuum of a roof whereby we're able to make it look more natural and blended in versus having it slope down in the shorter portion of the building because the road has a natural slope to it. So we'll be asking for zoning relief to the total of 50 feet and 9 inches, correct?
Correct.
More or less from the base floor. That's our proposed height elevation request. Next slide. Where's the floor plan slide? Sorry. There we go. This is a sample of the floor plans we intend to develop. With adequate egress, we would have 35 apartments in total on all 4 floors, as well as a small ground floor retail space that would take up just about 1,000 square feet. The reason why we think that's important is we always believe, and I think I shared it with everyone in my last discussion, that having a small retail component adds a lot of value to the tenants. It gives them a place to buy a coffee. It creates more foot traffic. So when they're going out, they're not just going to their car and leaving. They're spending more money in the downtown district, which is ultimately the goal. And the reason why we think this building is particularly unique is if we go to the zoning map, there we go, on the downtown district, this is a gray area. The beige area is your downtown district zone, and this building is less than 50 feet outside the zone. It's on the same street. So if that building had been just 50 feet closer to High Street, this would not even be a discussion. The reason we're having this discussion is because it's 50 feet away from High Street, and therefore we need a form of parking relief. So the solution we came up with was that we're able to acquire a lot that has 25 parking spaces, so that would definitely offer some form of relief. But we also were careful enough to look at the other parking lots that are municipal lots in the area. And what we have here is interesting. There's several municipal parking lots, all within an easy walking distance, less than a block or 2 away. And they allow for different types of permit parking through Pottstown, where folks can actually get spots for an entire month or for a longer period of time, which creates additional revenue to the borough. And I think that that's an important component of what the downtown district is supposed to offer. It's not just about creating additional footfall, but it's also footfall for the retail centers, but it's also about offering additional revenue to the city by the utilization overnight in their public parking lots. One parking lot in particular, which is right across the street from us, we were there today, has 31 parking spots. And that's the parking lot right behind the church, which is a municipal lot, which in the evenings I've been here and we drove past, was never utilized. So this is also an opportunity where you have a municipal parking lot where folks from this building can rent spaces from the borough while they're living there for a year or two, whatever that period in time is. Go on. Oh, go up? You don't see my face. Keep going. I want to go into some of the amenities style. So one of the nice things that's happening today, and we've gotten a little bit better in terms of creating higher end finishes. We're doing that really well in a project in Germantown that's getting TCO in the next 30 days. We're doing that in 1422 North 8th, which is in Northern Liberties in Philadelphia. But also when we do our 85 unit project here on North Hanover on 274, we're going for higher end finishes with the gym. And today when we were going through the building, we were actually looking for spaces that were what we consider underutilized within the building, that we can create additional amenity space for the tenants. So this will be a building that also has various amenities such as a gym and such as an area for people to have like a little office suite that can add value to them versus it just being another apartment on for retail. And that's some of the style in which we build, that we want it to really be a home and a community versus just another apartment building where people are looking for a place to live. Are there any questions or anything I can help with?
Do you guys manage them after they're built and rented?
Yes, we do. We have a management partner who, Green Zang Management, who invests in all of our deals, and he's a partner of ours, and we've been together for 7 years now. And we're not flippers, we hold long-term. The investor, the core investor that is putting money into North Hanover with us, as well as our core investment group that's gonna be putting money into this one, in particular, is a long-term horizon. And just by way of reference and how much I believe in this project, for this initial acquisition, I'm actually the largest personal investor in it. So.
Just so Borough Council knows, and I think Mr. Murray hit on it, this will be back before you for conditional use, and also for land development. So the purpose tonight is really just to go over what the request for zoning relief is, so council is aware of what is being sought at the zoning hearing board level. So, Mike, add?
No, that's,
To me,
that is
I have
correct.
I have a comment. I have a comment.
Good.
To me, the zoning seems very reasonable. It doesn't seem drastic to me. Um, I really like the plan a lot. I really like, the use of space. It's very, very good. Everything's clean. It's very nice. The way it's drawn out, the way it's laid out. Um, the only thing I would suggest as far as the elevation goes is if you want to maintain the look of the historical surroundings, what is that top part made from? Do you say it was brick, or you said the color was to match the brick?
So what we typically do in these scenarios is you have either a type of a brick or a brick veneer, which is a brick stone facade. So it's not going to be the full thickness of the total brick based off of the weight. Especially, you have to make sure that your structural engineer is comfortable that if, for example, if these are very heavy stones, you may not be able to put the full stone on top of the building at that angle, right? You might have to have a thinner stone, which is like a veneer, but of the same type of stone that goes over the top of a stucco. So therefore, it looks like it's just one flush stone from the ground floor all the way up. But if you actually use the full, 8-inch or 12-inch brick, you wouldn't want something that heavy, that high up on a building with today's, building codes.
The only thing I would suggest, and it's just on my part. You do what you want with it, but I would use I would form some coins on the corners to kind of continue that look from below, and I would also do a some molding across the entire top to kind of match what you have going on below.
You mean from a
That's just
color
it's
match
just
perspective?
it's just a suggestion. I'm sorry.
You have show your elevation, I can show you what he's.
From an architectural perspective, so it looks more like the building below it. We're gonna, the
Yeah.
elevation, I think, is more to give you an idea of the sense of height. Gives you a sense of perspective for the height. The finished product is gonna borrow from the architecture of the building below it, to the point where the brick that Judah's discussing, it's actually a real brick, and they slice it. So we're gonna be taking the same color of brick that's in the building below it, and using those thin bricks to do the facade on the upper portion. And you can see the columns below it, and as you pointed out, the corner detail and the molding will be reflected in the building above it too.
This is just a height elevation example. If the best way to think about it is if you look at the upper third, where you see on the left it says FF third, that shows you what the third floor begins, and you have these beautiful Juliet balconies, which when we saw today, we had our construction team there as well, and one of them says, hey, we could save money by just making them windows, and I was like, no, keep them as balconies, make them doors, are you nuts? We're not getting rid of this. So this is what we're gonna be doing, is matching what you see at the Juliet balcony level on the upper level, because if you have the higher elevation, the last thing you wanna do is have small windows. If you could create Juliet balcony mirrors on the top there, that's really the value of going up a floor.
Right, and the last thing you want too in a good historical building like this,
100%.
is put a box on top. Put a box on
Absolutely.
top.
No, this is just a height example, please. We would never do something like that. That's gross. Sorry.
The other
Good.
strange thing
Good.
with the ordinance too, it isn't a flat height. It talks about perceived height, and it showed you all the different types of roof styles and everything, and what you do count for height in the building, and what you don't. Like the pointy roofs in some of the houses, like the whole cone part isn't counted in the height of the building. It's where the flat elevation kind of goes off. It is really strange, because it's hard to determine what the height actually is, because it's referred to as perceived height.
Maybe we'll take a look at that in zoning review.
What the,
Clean it up a little bit, maybe.
Is there typically a amount of time that your management group manage these buildings, and then they form some kind of a board or something like that, within the residents, and the residents take over? I know that happens in some.
Oh, you mean like a condo association style or
Yeah.
co-op? No, these are strictly apartment buildings that are owned by, in this scenario, it's gonna be owned by me and two other partners, and that's it.
Okay, so it's not gonna be a situation where they manage it for 10, 15, 20 years, then they back out.
No,
Okay.
I don't foresee ever doing that.
Okay, awesome. All right, yeah, I love it. It's great.
Thank you.
okay.
Me too.
Yeah, I have one. The top floor, okay. This is just, as you said, for height only.
For height,
You're going to do
example,
something
purposes.
better than two construction trailers on top of that building?
100%.
Mixed together? Awesome, thank you.
Do you want to talk a little bit about our conversation today when we were up on the roof, what the plans are?
We actually did stand on the roof today, and that's the specific
Better.
question about the finish that you'd asked about, and the consistency of it came up while we were standing there, and we pointed it out. And as Judah was saying, the Bell building has the tin top on it, and we don't do that kind of stuff. We really want to remain true to it.
Yeah.
No, I understand. No, we're better than that. And then with your other question with the management, as part of the process, that also speaks to doing it the right way. Those guys are gonna have to live with that building for the next 10, 20, 50 years, however long they're around. They don't want to have to come back for service calls, so when we do it, having their input as part of the development process means that we're going to use the longer lasting materials, the better stuff, to avoid those service calls and make the maintenance.
Is there going to be, or has there been any kind of roof evaluation for the increased live load?
Not yet, but we have structural engineers that will be looking on for that. honestly, that building on the interior is so robust because it had to support the printing presses and everything else underneath it. There, the substructure in there is steel that you'd build bridges out of. The concrete posts and everything that are in there, I can't imagine that we're gonna have problems with it, but we do have structural engineers that are gonna evaluate and put together a plan. Yeah.
Are there AH units up there now that you would have to move?
Yeah, I'm sorry, any?
Are there
AC units.
Air handling
Air
units?
handlers? There are 3 condensers and, no, nothing that's gonna be difficult to get out.
Plus the advantage that owning the parking lot right behind there, even before we begin construction, before we even start the project, is that there's a set staging area where we don't disturb traffic in any way possible. So when we have shipments coming in or coming out, we're not blocking roads, they're going straight into the parking lot that we own. We're offloading from there, bringing it straight in through the back of the
Be able to
building.
bring the crane in and not have to worry about
Minimal
blocking
disturbance to
traffic.
the residents in the area is our goal.
So I really like that you came with a plan for parking, and that you will close on that before this. And I cannot stress enough how much I appreciate you doing the right thing. A lot of times, I've had the experience where contractors or construction workers don't do the right thing, personally and around town. Their stuff falls apart, it doesn't look good, they leave it. I can tell by you speaking here how passionate you are about the project, and I think I said this the last time you were here. So I just can't express enough how much I appreciate you talking about doing the right thing, and I believe you when you say it.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
So much. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for your time.
Might sell my house and move in.
All right. Next, we'll hear from 356 North Charlotte.
Yeah, Dan, this is another zoning application
Yes.
on a much smaller scale. And again, this is an application to the zoning hearing board. The applicant, according to the application, is seeking 2 variances. The first variance is based upon our ordinance requirement that the first floor contain 2,500 square feet of area. I don't believe this building has that sufficient area, so they're asking for a variance to reduce that requirement. They're looking to take a commercial unit existing on the first floor and turn it into apartments. I believe one of the apartments would be less than the 800 square foot requirement, so I believe it's 625 square feet, and so they're asking for a variance for that apartment size. I believe the applicant and his attorney, Bob Riley, are here to answer any questions and give you more information about their project. Bob?
Good evening, thank you. That explained it perfectly.
Okay.
Essentially, this is a building that has a commercial establishment historically on the ground floor, sometimes even 2, and 2 apartments on the floors above it. And Mr. Kovacs acquired this with his LLC. He's the sole owner, and he wishes to convert the first floor into 2 beautiful apartments. He's going to gut it. He's going to put a lot of money into making really nice apartments. And the apartments are going to be, one's going to be a 2-bedroom apartment and the other's going to be a 1-bedroom apartment. Unfortunately, the way the building is laid out and the way the accesses are and the way it's currently constructed, it only makes sense to really construct the 2 apartments this way. And as doing it that way, the 1 apartment's only going to be 625 square feet. So we're scheduled to be in front of the ZHB on January 22nd. As Mr. Garner indicated earlier, we are going to be back if we get the relief we're requesting from the ZHB before you for conditional use approval and a more formal hearing. Mr. Kovacs is here to answer any questions you might have, but we will be back before you again if we are fortunate enough to get the relief we're seeking with the ZHB.
Thanks for having me over this evening. So I purchased this building back in May. It had 2 nice apartments upstairs that rent out very quickly. it's a unique building. I think anytime I mention to anyone which building I purchased, they were all very nostalgic about, especially old Pottstown residents. So it used to be Jefferson Street Bar. But, you know, I was fortunate enough to purchase that building and the lot behind it, and also a parcel of land on, the address is 355 Evans Street. So, when I saw the building, you know, living in the area for the past 15 years, and being a member over at Bellwood, I've grown, you know, kind of fond of Pottstown. I like the direction it's going. Going into real estate, I have a vision of beautifying the area. Like, I see a building, I saw the 2 apartments that were already existing there. Rented out very, very quickly once I closed on the building. 2 really, really great tenants, never an issue with them. And my goal is to give them a great experience of being a tenant. The intention of, you know, when I got the building, there's a lot you can do with it. It used to be a bar downstairs and a little foodery next to it. So, you know, I arrived on the solution of saying what needs to happen here is 2 more residences, because it doesn't seem like there's a need for more commercial space in Pottstown. There seems to be more of a need for residences down there. And I have the ability to go make these really nice residences, attract the types of tenants that I think the borough would want and welcome and would be productive members of this community. So as Bob mentioned, I do intend to spend a significant amount of money refurbishing this, renovating it, and making it a place people want to go to. Additionally, I've installed security cameras around there to ensure that the tenants are safe. There's plenty of off-street parking. I think when I took the measurements of my lot over there, I have enough room for 15 spaces. So there would be ample parking, off-street parking for my tenants, and the security to keep them and their property safe.
Questions?
No, you've explained it well.
Good. Thank you.
All right, well,
Thanks.
thank you, and hopefully we'll see you again in a month.
Okay, switching to conditional approval. 451 Keystone.
Yeah, so this council is not a zoning application, but rather a land development plan that was approved by council for this property, I think 3 years ago. One of the conditions was that the facility be operational within 3 years. I believe Mr. Picardi and his client are here to provide you some information, answer questions, as they're seeking an extension of that time of the approval of the land development.
Thank you, Mr. Garter. It's nice to see you folks again. It was 3 years ago that we received final plan approval by resolution that contained a 3-year term. Such approvals are generally granted longer period of time. The MPC provides 5 years, but for whatever reason, it was a 3-year period of time. But built right into the first paragraph of that resolution was the opportunity to grant an extension of time. And the resolution specifically says the borough will grant an extension of time unless, you know, for good or compelling cause. I was thinking about discussing the project. If the board would like to hear little about the project, we could. I could go into a little detail, but if you are curious to know about the accomplishments or what's been done for the last 3 years, they really have been plenty. My clients are PSEP, which is Pottstown Sustainable Energy Park Project, and Restream Energy. And they have secured a $35 million loan guarantee from Santander Bank, and that's being backed also, guaranteed by one of the world's largest energy companies. PSEP now owns both 451 Keystone Boulevard and 405 Keystone Boulevard. They've gone through substantial regulatory approvals. They've received already 4 approval letters from DEP. FEMA has granted approval. The Montgomery County Conservation District had issued a letter of approval. My client has spent $1 million or more on geotechnical and samplings and testings and borings, of the site. We're told there are no bog turtles. There's no Native American relic or burial grounds, to be of concern. And so the project is moving along. We've partnered with one of the largest companies that designs industrial plants of this type, from something like this to nuclear power plants. They're the Phoenix Group out of New Jersey, and they're working, continuously on developing the site, the building, the size of the building, the height of the building, et cetera. My client has secured contracts with a number of feedstock companies, we call it feedstock. What eventually will happen is a whole lot of products wind up in a landfill. These are residue products from industrial work. They consist basically of cardboard, paper, and wooden pallets. It goes to the landfill now. When this project is fully developed, we'll be taking 700 tons a day out of landfill and putting it into this project. The project converts that material into wooden pellets that can then fuel other industrial operations. This is also a part of the project is a gasification scientific methodology that I couldn't begin to explain, but a byproduct is high-grade diesel fuel, and that's why the energy company that is partnered with us is interested in the project. So we have contracts now with a number of either chocolate companies or battery companies, and other industrial businesses, in their region. We've also secured a fleet of trucks, basically bought a trucking company, so that all that can get hauled in and processed at the plant. The next thing that has to happen at the site is, because it's low-lying, it's 10 acres, it's on Keystone Boulevard, and it's undeveloped, it needs to be raised, elevated 6 feet, over 10 acres. That's a monumental amount of soil, dirt, fill that's going to have to take place. And our, the resolution issued, only gave 3 years, so that's about to expire. And so we're asking that it simply be extended for an additional 3 years. All the other terms and conditions will remain the same.
Okay. Anyone, questions? All right.
I have
So-
prepared a resolution,
Yeah,
Attorney Solicitor Garner, I don't know if that got to you or not. It was given to the Assistant Solicitor.
Yes, we have it, and it will be in the council packet, Ken, and this will be listed for council action. I was just going to comment to council that this is a huge project. The request for an extension is not really unusual, and from a legal standpoint, I'd recommend that you grant the extension, so.
Thank you. We also have support. We're in constant contact. I think Justin can tell you, with the borough, with
Right.
paid, KEEP organization are all supportive. Joe Cerisi's name's been mentioned a few times. I think he's been instrumental in helping us get some of the governmental approvals that we need. Without further ado, or any more of your time, thank you for your consideration.
Well, I do have a question. Way back during the original presentation, I talked to some of the people, and they said one of the byproducts might be graphene. Is that still part of it?
Yeah, it was a component of the biochar.
Yes.
And graphene, right, has high-tech industrial uses.
Yes.
I believe that's still in the process.
Very good. Now, there's more and more demand for that every day, so we'd like to be the hub provider of that.
Just like with these other products, right? And developments that are going through here, things just take time. Technology changes. It's hard to keep up. It's very expensive, but these folks were working very diligently to make it happen. So much so that the lender in this case had wanted to be sure that my clients actually have collateral. And so that's why 405 has been purchased by these folks. That was the old 84 lumber building. That has 70,000 square feet of industrial space. That's in pretty good shape. And it's going to be easy to convert that. So we're now working with the borough to also get 405 approved. I know it's already been through, it doesn't need to go to zoning. The zoning officer said it's adaptable for the use we want to use it. And the good news for the borough is that we'll start bringing in that cellulose-based products by truck, and the borough gets a tipping fee per our previous agreement. For every truck, there's something like, it's 150 truckloads a day, which would be something like $750 a day for the borough.
Yes.
And we hope to start that relatively soon.
Good, good.
It's all part and parcel of the same project.
Any thoughts of using the railroad siding?
Yes, to get the pellets out and or
Out.
get the diesel out.
Got
But
it.
again, that's a negotiation with them. We're in negotiations with PICO to get more power. It's a project.
Very good. We're waiting.
This
We're
is
waiting.
Mark Bangford. He's a
Yes.
principal with the organization. My name is Ken Picardi. I'm a Pottstown lawyer with Yergi Dale.
Very good.
Happy to see you all again, and thanks for your consideration. Hello.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.
Okay, 76 North Charlotte. Anyone?
Yeah, so council will recall in last month's meeting, there was a conditional use hearing regarding this property. The applicant wasn't very well prepared to present information to council.
True.
One of the requirements in our ordinance is a parking and traffic study, clearly lacking and not produced. The applicant has made a written request to reopen the record for 45 days to produce the appropriate parking and traffic study. Believe this legally can occur if council chooses to do that. I would suggest that if council does, it would be for a 45-day period to expire February 27th, that no further extensions be granted unless council chooses to do so, and the applicant understand and acknowledge in writing that he's amenable to these conditions. According to the assistant solicitor, council was amenable to the project, but the applicant didn't follow all the rules and didn't produce what the ordinance requires. And this would give the applicant a chance to do that without having to file a brand-new conditional use application.
Okay. So we'll list that for Monday evening.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. 16, police vehicle bid. What do we have?
Yes, so that is a leftover from the previous bid. There was one vehicle that didn't sell, so we put it out on municipal bid again, and we'll have a recommendation for you on Monday night.
Okay. Property maintenance bid.
So for these next four bids, actually 5 bids, we'll have a recommendation for all of these on Monday night.
All right, so it's property, industrial highway, guide rails, traffic signs, lawn and row. 21 airport maintenance.
This is another bid. This will be ready Monday night. This replaces the existing metal roof at the airport maintenance hangar.
Okay, good. We'll add that.
Add that to our list of projects for 2025.
Good start. 22 is the RACP grant. Mr. Garner, you have this?
Yes, so this is similar to a project of the community college that you approved back a couple months ago for 95 South Hanover. This is for the property at 215 South Washington. The owner has applied for an RCAP grant. I believe it's $500,000. One of the requirements of the RDA is that the borough, as the host municipality, must sign this cooperative agreement. Because there's some potential risks to the borough when they sign these agreements, we have decided to have the property owner sign or have them sign an indemnification agreement to hold the borough harmless. We've sent the indemnification to the property owner. I suspect that it will be acceptable. So for Monday night, motion to approve and authorize the execution of the cooperation agreement subject to receipt of the indemnification agreement. And again, this is the process we've been following for all these grants.
Okay. Any questions?
Any questions? Happy to
Understood?
answer. Just more technical in nature.
Oh, but you always look at me.
Look on both sides. Okay, well, let's set for Monday then. RECP. Raise grant, that's yours.
Yes, so this grant, we applied for in 2023. We were not successful in getting an award for this project. And we would like to resubmit this grant, which is due at the end of January, which would primarily cover the construction costs of the Keystone Boulevard Extension project. So this grant's being written with the assistance of the Thriving Communities Technical Assistant Grant Program, which seeks to better position communities that are disadvantaged like ours and smaller like ours to receive federal funding that's made available through the recently passed Infrastructure and Jobs Act. So one of their suggestions, since we didn't get it the first time around, we needed to include a different element in it this time that might be more attractive. So one of the suggestions is to make it more competitive by demonstrating partnerships that will benefit the broader community. So they are recommending that a second component, in addition to the roadway extension, would be to totally rebuild and modernize all of the existing units in the Bright Hope community. It would be a rebuild of the existing units only, and should be noted that there would be no additional units that would be created as a part of this funding in terms of subsidized housing units that are there now by the county. So the total grant would be worth $25 million, with $15 million going to cover the cost of the roadway construction and $10 million going to the Housing Authority to rebuild the existing units. There's no match required, and we are in receipt of a letter of support from the Housing Authority, and we'll be collecting other letters of support towards the end of the month as we approach the grant deadline.
Good.
So I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Questions? Okay. We need to take any action to approve this?
Yes, we would need a resolution for Monday.
Okay, then let's do that Monday. Thank you. Now, upcoming board vacancies. For the EAC, we have one 3-year term, and we have one applicant. For Human Relations, one 4-year term, one applicant. Zoning Hearing Board, one 3-year term, one applicant. On the back here. Pottstown Borough Authority, one 5-year term, one applicant. And just announcing for the Planning Commission, there are 2 4-year terms to expire in February, and both current members want to reapply. For HARB, one 5-year term to expire in April of 2027. I don't see an applicant for that. Is that true?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
And just one note on item C, the zoning hearing board, there were actually 2 applicants, but
Oh, there were.
upon further review, Mr. Vey was not a resident of the borough.
Not a resident, okay.
So we'll check with our solicitor and make sure, but I believe that he would have to be a resident to be on the zoning hearing board.
Okay,
And I'll confirm that right now, so you're correct.
all right. So let us hear from the citizens.
All right, first up, we have Marlene Armato, please.
Hi, good evening. Marlene Armato. And I have a list of questions and concerns. But before I get to that, I'd like to preface this with some statements. First of all, I hold our police officers and our Pottstown Police Department in the highest regard. I respect highly each and every officer of that department. They're dedicated, well-trained, and they go out into our community every day to protect and serve. My questions and concerns revolve around what their cooperation or non-cooperation will be with ICE. So question, is there a contract, a written contract or policy for our department with ICE? And if so, who is responsible for that contract and that policy? Is it council or is it the department? If ICE would like to deputize any of our officers as ICE agents, is that a collective decision or is that an individual decision for each officer? If our department decides whether to or not be part of a roundup of people, would they only detain people who they have warrants for? And if it's a family, would children's names have to be on that warrant? Would our officers go into designated sensitive locations, like churches, schools, hospitals, medical facilities, child care facilities, or other designated locations? So I would appreciate it if someone from council would get back to me and let me know whether or not, who to talk to about whether or not our officers are going to be in cooperation with ICE. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next up, we have Joseph Vasily.
That's fine.
I'm sorry, I should know how to pronounce your last name by now.
Oh, no, that's totally fine. My name is Joseph Vasoli, and I'm with the Pottstown Regional Public Library Board. I started as a volunteer a few months ago and then somehow found myself on the board and then was made treasurer somewhat against my will. But I love it, and I love our library. At the beginning of 2025, your library presented a realistic and balanced budget. We posted our strongest fundraising year and quarter ever, and we were awarded a substantial grant for second quarter of 2025. Everything was looking up. We even had the audacity to begin a capital improvement plan, as our mayor mentioned, to get a new roof. And that is when the universe, in its infinite wisdom, decided to humble us. A decommissioned oil tank from when the building was a post office decided to suddenly recommission itself as an indoor, in-ground swimming pool. So now our basement is shot. As though that weren't enough, today, our main bathroom, not to be outdone by some upstart oil tank, flooded. You can laugh, it's okay. Yeah, well, we have to have humor in tragedy.
Yeah.
We are currently surveying the damage and the wreckage and talking to our insurance, but all we know now is that the damage and associated costs will be monumental. Which brings me to the point where I turn this way and beg members of our community to help me save your library, because the library belongs to all of you. A library is not just a building, although we need one to operate, as we are finding out now. It's an idea, and it is a place where children can go after school if their parents work until 6. And they can have a safe place to stay and read and learn. It's a place where transient members of our society can access the internet to collect their benefits. It's a place where people who are thirsty for knowledge can call home. So the call to action is 4. There's 4 things you can do to help. One, if you are an individual, you can donate either on our website or by mailing a check or in person. Two, if you are a business, you can call or email the library, who will put you in touch with me, and I will work with you to make a donation that is 90% tax deductible. We talk about keeping money in our community, and I hear a lot of discussion about this, so let's put that into action and have our businesses have their taxes stay here instead of just getting funneled to Harrisburg, where they can get frittered away, except for the stuff that gets spent on libraries. That stuff's great, obviously. Three, if you are someone who has experience with remediation, building trades, etc., we can help you volunteer your time if you are able to do so, and we can help you volunteer your time in a way that you will not be liable. You'll be covered under insurance. Four, if you are a town councilor, and this is where I turn back, you can put $1 in the jar every time you talk about Upper Pottsgrove. No, I'm just kidding. If you could not revise our millage down, that would help us a lot. I'm not going to ask you for more because Pottstown Borough already gives us so much. So thank you for your support. We may be leaning on you for advice in the near future. And if you know someone who can help, we may need pro bono legal help if our insurer decides to play hardball with us. That's all I have. We're doing our best. I'm not going anywhere. The library's not going anywhere. We'll get through it, but we need help. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Doug Slick, please.
Good evening, everyone. I can't promise you that level of humor. That was a pretty impressive speech. I do have a good thing, though. As you know, I like to start with a good thing. We have almost 50 unhoused members of our community out of the cold for the winter, and I'd like to thank the Switchpoint Foundation for the funding to get that off the ground. That is illustrative of the fact that we are in a housing crisis. I have the impression that many people think there is a more robust housing safety net than actually exists. So I researched the situation by contacting the sources that I'm going to list personally. Applications for public housing can take as long as 5 years to result in actually being housed. And that's Bright Hope, which we've been talking about tonight, Pollock House, Smith Tower, we've talked about tonight. Those are the facilities that are here in the Pottstown area that would be under that umbrella. If you're a veteran or an applicant who happens to live in and work in Montco, that time could be reduced from 5 years to maybe 2 or 3, provided you're very flexible about where you go and you're very flexible about the size of the apartment you would receive. You hear people talk about housing vouchers and Section 8. Just go out and get yourself a voucher. It's unfortunately not that easy. That agency opens applications roughly every 5 years. They recently opened the window and they got 7,500 applications in 1 week. They had to shut it down because the system could only accept 1,000 applications. So those other 6,500 people were just jettisoned. They have no recourse with that system. Out of those 1,000, by the way, they are awarded they are awarded to get on the wait list by a lottery. So it is as fair as it could be. But those lucky 1,000 now begin the 2 or 3 year wait for a voucher to be administered to them. Once they get that, they then have to go find a landlord who will comply with the extra work that's required to clear the HUD recommendations. Now, there is a good point, which is that there is another level of housing that's provided, which is privately owned by developments who can offer below market rates by following particular HUD regulations, which is in the land of legalities that I don't understand. But anyway, there are a number of them around here. Rolling Hills is one. How long do you think it takes to get in Rolling Hills? 10 years. They have a 10-year waiting list. My conversation with them kind of stopped at that point. I don't think that we really have much to talk about. If it's going to take 10 years, it's just not a practical solution. Hillcrest Village in Boyertown, they wouldn't even tell me how long it takes for their waiting list. But their requirements include a credit rating, previous rental history, and a security deposit. Jefferson School Apartments here on Beach Street is awesome. It is exclusively for over 62-year-old people, so there's some limitations. But they do have some openings fairly currently. They require a security deposit, first month's rent, social security card, birth certificate, current ID, and 6 months bank statements.
Wow.
Beach Street Factory, which is an awesome-looking place, I've never been in, but it's another one of these that's under that particular accounting HUD regulation. They didn't return multiple phone calls. I actually went and knocked on the door and rang the bell for the main office. They did not respond at all. So I'm guessing from that level of customer service, they're not really too concerned about getting their apartments full. Pretty sure that they're just sitting on a gold mine. So for people who are trying to get back on their feet, especially after an incident or a time of being unhoused, those regulations are a very steep slope, pretty much impossible. One of the things that we could do, and I love Dwight City's here again with a great option for us, and I think that's a wonderful thing. I don't think it would be such a giant disincentive for us to say, make a few of those apartments available under market rate. They're going to be making some buck, and I think that we could have some reasonable position to say a small amount. I'm not saying 10% even, a few apartments. I just want to finish by saying that our community's actions demonstrate our collective values and ethics. And I think we would be reasonable in making those requests. Thank you.
All right, next up is Shauna Levy, please.
Good evening, everyone. Happy 2025. I wanted to come again before you and discuss the condition of the streets. One thing I wanted to make mention of is Walnut Street in particular. Wanted to have an update about that to see what's going on and how we plan to proceed with the condition of the streets. Very concerned about that because people run pretty fast in these streets. We don't really have the placards to say how slow you should go, you know, where I see in other districts and other boroughs and other townships, they normally have, you know, the placards up. There are some around the Hill School area, which are, you know, pretty good, pretty visible, and then some farther down on High Street, as you get closer to McDonald's and in that area and whatnot. But my concern is people going too quickly, you know, and our children are back in school, and I really would like to have an update on the condition of the streets and if it's possible to put those speed limit signs up in more locations around the borough. The second thing I would like to mention is crosswalks. If we could implement crosswalks where pedestrians don't have to take their life in their hands to cross across Hanover Street. Hanover Street between Beach Street and King Street is 3 blocks. And I see people running across the street, you know, because people don't slow down. They're not slowing down to give the pedestrians the right of way. So this is something else that I'd like to just discuss and see if we can put into the plan of action for 2025. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That concludes public comment.
And from our counselors. Counselor Levedinsky. Nope, I'm good. Counselor Bannigan.
Just I enjoyed the polar bear plunge, and Michael, you should sing more often. I don't mean to call you out, but during that, I turned around and I was like, who is that singing? So, any baseball games we have, anything, you're up. I'm done.
Okay. Counselor Proscom.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Counselor Lindsay.
I agree with Lisa and Stephanie. You do have a wonderful voice. Like, I was shocked. Me and Lisa was out there with the tree toss, and all of a sudden we say, "Oh!" I said, "Who is that singing? Did they pay somebody to sing? I could have sang for the, but y'all don't want me to. But I can't.
Would you like
I can't
him to
sing.
open the next
I can't
meeting?
Sing. I could do jokes, but I can't sing. But I would try. But when he started singing, we was looking like, who is it? I looked, I said, Michael, he could sing? I looked at Lisa and said, he could sing? Who'd have thought? It was wonderful, yes. It was really cold. Unfortunately, they didn't do the bonfire, but that's it. Yeah. I didn't get in, of course, as usual. I'll just help out with the tree toss. I do want to say that I am, I'm never satisfied. So I'm not satisfied that the streets are not being taken care of, and I'm not satisfied when they're getting taken care of and they have detours. I'm like, man, another detour. But same thing with 422. I take 422, and they doing work on there. So what I'm to say is that that's progress, and that's what happens. Those streets are they doing that for a reason, because they have their eyes on Pottstown. Same thing with 422. If you notice, they do that when they see growth is coming. 2025, guys, I'm telling you, this is it. 26, Pottstown is going to be just you. I said you got this. 2025. This year, we striving. Next year, it's going to be something else. So, and congratulations, Joe, again for another 2 years. It was nice to have his office moved. If you haven't been there, his office moved from the last 2 years that I've been there, and it's beautiful. He has a really nice office now. So, but I just want to say congratulations to him, and I'm done. Like that?
Just a couple of things. There's two facts that I figured out tonight. One was a little bit earlier than that. But Pottstown has historical significance and historical importance with the War for American Independence, okay? And Ms. Levengood reminded me that this is the 250th anniversary, which leads me to the other truth that I know, other than that Pottstown was instrumental in the American Revolution, is that we know how to throw a damn good party. So I hope that there is that we seriously get together and create two epicenters or ground zeros for the 250th anniversary. One, of course, will be Philadelphia, but the other one could be Pottstown for us out west, so to speak. So I hope that we can coalesce and get together and show how important we were to the American Revolution and to this entire area. That's it.
Good idea.
I like that.
Counselor Kirkland, anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to say happy, blessed and prosperous New Year to everyone.
Very good. Mayor Hendrick.
Just one thing, I wanted to correct the date. I read the year instead of the month. For coldest night of the year walk is February 22nd of 2025, not the 25th. So it's on the weekend. So look for an email shortly to come. Thanks.
Okay. All I can do is wish everyone the best year ahead. And with that, meeting adjourned.